No. You rise to the occasion. Experience comes with age, and I've been hearing a lot about age, you know.
We are now, and I finally get to check that off my list, and I knew this was going to be a big fight. The build-up for this is huge. The press conferences are entertaining. It's a spectacle.
Moment. The heavyweight icon Anthony Joshua locking eyes with Jake Paul, the internet brawler who somehow keeps turning impossible into sold-out arenas, and everything between them feels radioactive. The room is thick with tension, ego, and the kind of wild confidence only fighters and madmen possess. Joshua stands tall, carved like a monument, 6'6" and 250 pounds of carved granite. The Olympic gold medalist whose hands have ended nights and careers and across.
I have nothing but love for him, but I'm going to knock him out respectfully, and you know, we can hug and kiss afterwards, specifically kiss.
From him smirks Jake Paul, 6'1", muscles tight, brimming with ambition and disrespect. The YouTuber no longer laughing at his own jokes, but training like a man possessed because this isn't content anymore. This is consequence. We are 17 days from the biggest, strangest, most outrageous fight in modern boxing. The kind that gets whispered in gyms, screamed in press conferences, memed in group chats, and debated by fans who swear they know boxing but have never thrown a jab in their lives. Joshua has rebuilt himself for this moment, sharpened by ice baths at dawn, spy-level secrecy in training camp, surrounded by Usyk's coaches and heavyweight killers trying to ignite the old fire again. Every session is a war zone, every round a mission. Because after a knockout loss and elbow surgery, this camp isn't just get ready, it's do or die.
Trying to rediscover a little bit of that confidence. He's got to Alexander Usyk, where we're hearing reports he's out there training with Usyk and the team, trying to pick up something, trying to rediscover something.
That's very strange, Paul, isn't it?
It is, but it's not unheard of. I've heard of a lot of fighters doing that. You see fighters, obviously, it's the old Rocky movies years ago, but you see a fighter losing to someone, all of a sudden they go in the camp and they start training and do a little bits together and become friends or whatever else. I think it'll do Joshua no harm travelling, but as you say, he's a little bit long in the tooth and he's a bit on the back nine rather than the front nine, where that experience would really come into play. But I'm just looking at his record here. He obviously after the Usyk fight, he's come back and he had 3 fights and then the Ngannou demolition
Well, yeah,
job.
Jermaine Franklin, he had Robert Helene, he had Otto Wally, and he smashed Ngannou, which everyone went hallelujah for, right?
Yeah, but he's obviously not in like the BoxingHQ rankings to see where he is. But the Dubois fight is a fight where what you've just said then, Spencer, like match him right. I felt he was matched right with Dubois. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I was wrong on that, and I was proved wrong. But I felt like Joshua would have and should have came through that, but he obviously didn't. So therefore, it's back to the drawing board. And where do you go from there? What do you do from there? Does he keep the same team around him? Does he go and find someone new and try and adapt and add to his repertoire already? And this move at Usyk, I don't know what it'll be, but if he's fighting before Christmas, then he needs to get in shape quick because there's only 8 weeks to go, let's say.
Well, my understanding, he's in camp, he's in shape, and just looking to get out and get back to winning ways is my understanding. That's why they're talking about 8-rounders.
Yeah.
He wants to sort of go under the radar a little bit, and it's difficult for someone like Anthony Joshua because he's such commercial commodity.
He's always been in shape all the time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He always will be in shape. He's never, ever not been.
But it's not about his physical shape, is it? No one's ever questioned his physical state. Zach, when I was talking about Anthony Joshua, and I know that the president of his fan club is here in Spencer, but I talked about the PTSD issue post various fights, whether it be the Alexander Usyk or the Daniel Dubois situation. But prior to Daniel Dubois, I always maintained that I felt that despite the performance against Jermaine Franklin, despite the performance against Robert Helenius, which had been blasted out by Deontay Wilder.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul is sparring with giants Anderson, Sanchez, Okoli getting battered, learning, improving, refusing to be the underdog who rolls over. He knows he is smaller, less experienced, statistically doomed. But he also knows that under bright lights, madness happens. And sometimes the universe rewards the man too stubborn to quit. Eddie Hearn watches Joshua like a general preparing artillery, saying with a grin that is half confidence, half warning,
AJ must retire if Jake Paul wins on December 19th. Stand by that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I suppose so. Shit, yeah. Look, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins this fight. I know that boxing's boxing. And I mean, what is it? Roy Jones came out this morning and said Jake Paul can win this fight.
Teddy Atlas as well.
Teddy Atlas? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, now I'm a bit worried. I won't retire. AJ should retire if he loses, no.
Sorry.
No, I see AJ winning this fight with ease, comprehensively, destructively, violently, and I don't see a world where Jake Paul is competitive in the fight, let alone win the fight. But luckily, AJ's not preparing in a way that he just thinks it's a joke. He's preparing for Jake Paul like he's a world title contender. Yes, it's been a little bit of a shorter camp. Yes, we've got to make weight this time around, but it doesn't matter. We should just slide through this guy and bash him up and beat him up, and we should do it early doors.
Just lastly, you said as well that you told Nikisa that he was weighing 290 when you were negotiating. What impact did that have? Did you feel like they would have gone even lower if they knew he was weighing 265?
No, I don't think that when you're negotiating on a weight, there's not one promoter in the world that would tell the truth about what the weight of the fighter was, and Nikisa knows that anyway. So it wasn't like we were being clever, but they wanted him to come to 240. And it's just, don't forget, AJ's never made weight before. So all of a sudden, he's been in camp for, 2 or 3 weeks, and he's probably sitting at, 260, 265. And it's like, you got to make two.
if Jake Paul wins, AJ retires. Full stop. And he means it. Boxing is brutal like that. No mercy for legends. No extension for reputation. No forgiveness for losing to a YouTuber with a podcast. At the same time, Hearn mutters, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins. Not even close. AJ should destroy him. Violently. Early. Just steamroll him. The audience roars because destruction sells better than logic. Because fans want thunder, knockout chaos, fireworks. And Joshua promises all of that with a smile that says, love you, but I'll break you. This camp is different. Joshua is training with disciplined maniacs. Coaches who cut away the old habits.
By these way bigger heavyweights like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okoli. Okoli is like 6'4.5", 6'5", and these guys are like 6'3", 6'4", probably. So now Jake Paul is the one that's smaller. So first of all, I will give credit to Jake Paul. Clearly, he's a person who is taking his career seriously. These are quality sparring. I mean, a real boxer, because people say he's not a real boxer, but a real boxer would be using the same guys in their sparring camp. In fact, I just told you Joshua used Lawrence Okoli. I don't know if he sparred with Anderson or Frank Sanchez, but these are all regular ranked heavyweights. So credit to Jake Paul for that. And I mean, he's gonna need it. Joshua is a different breed to, like, a Mike Perry when it comes to boxing. Different frame, different size. In case you didn't believe me, right? Jake Paul, this is what MVP Promotions posted. So Jake Paul top sparring, right? Heavyweights. And here's some pictures of Joshua with Lawrence Okoli. And again, Joshua, a big dude, but you see Lawrence Okoli, and he probably was cruiserweight back then. I mean, I don't know exactly when this picture was taken, but he's only like an inch shorter than Anthony Joshua. And now, as he's moved up to the full heavyweight, he has filled out more. You see, he looks even bigger than when he was a cruiserweight. Now, I gotta research it, but I want to say I thought Lawrence
rebuild his reactions, force him to think, move, adapt, sharpen, become a version of himself that remembers the monster who demolished Klitschko and flattened men with uppercuts that lifted souls out of bodies. Now, every correction he takes seriously, every rep is a confession. Every punch thrown is a memory of who he used to be and who he must be again if he wants redemption. Meanwhile, Jake Paul thrives on disrespect, on being doubted, on being told he's crazy, because crazy is where he makes money. He could fight guys his size, guys his record, guys who beat him, But why settle for mid-card names when you can jump straight into the volcano and swing at a god?
For Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023, and one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, well, I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua, because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that on there? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off?
Jake calls it business. The rest of the world calls it suicide. Lamont Roach hears the matchup and shakes his head. He gets obliterated. It's smart business, terrible strategy. He might get hurt. Chael Sonnen wonders if this is courage or stupidity, a leap of faith or a leap into traffic. He wonders if Jake can last 5 rounds, if he can win a single round, if survival becomes victory, because sometimes in boxing, just standing after the bell is an achievement. Yet nobody can imagine Jake beating AJ. Nobody sane, at least. But the crowd doesn't watch boxing to be sane, they watch to be shocked. In gyms and bars and living rooms, men who have never thrown a punch talk like experts, predicting knockouts and miracles, quoting trainers they've never met, repeating opinions from podcasts and TikTok highlights, convinced they understand the sport because they shadow boxed in their kitchen once. Jake won't win. Or maybe he runs. Running backwards is legal in boxing. Survival is legal. Getting paid is legal. Lasting 8 rounds is victory in its own way.
My first thoughts was, this guy's crazy. Not gonna lie. But I get it. Coming from a guy who's not a true traditional boxer, and to be able to have a position where he can fight a former unified world champion, former Olympic gold medalist, and to do it on such a stage where Anthony Joshua was a superstar as well. I mean, like, he sold out the O2, you know, twice.
Absolutely.
I think. So, you know, I think Jake is setting himself up for, you know, a huge spectacle, and which is, you know, kind of smart. If you're going to go big, why not go to the highest, like the highest of the mountain? Why not? And I get it. That's what you call business right there. And I've seen a lot of guys calling them out, from like Gabe to, you know, other guys who are boxers. Yeah, like guys who actually beat him. But why would he settle for those guys when he could fight Anthony Joshua? So I think that's, you know, I think that's smart. I think that's super smart.
Smart is one thing. What do you think happens in the ring, though, champ?
I think he gets hurt for sure. I think he gets obliterated. Something close to like Francis Ngannou. I think something like that happens, and it's going to be bad for him. But there will be.
But the truth that hangs between them like electricity is simple. When Joshua lands clean, the night ends. One right hand, one uppercut, one moment of heavyweight violence, and Jake Paul's world goes dark. Fans will scream, replays will loop, memes will explode, history will stamp the night as madness. Or maybe the unthinkable happens. Maybe Jake lands first? Maybe Joshua hesitates. Maybe time slows, and the impossible becomes real. Because this is boxing, not logic, not math, not reason. Just men, gloves, courage, fear, and fate. The gloves are off. The stage is set. The countdown ticks.